This is a little library. It sits in your front yard and you fill it with books, and people can come by and borrow books and leave books of their own for others to borrow. This one was started by a couple of Boy Scouts. They never did quite finish it. A friend of mine asked me to finish it as well as build her another one. We'll put them side by side in her front yard, this one down low for kids, and the other one I'm going to build from scratch up high for adults. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. The entire little library I'm building from scratch is going to be made out of cedar. The first thing we've got to do is rip this 2x down for the framework. Now I'm going to put miters on the ends. This will follow the roof line. I'm making mine roughly the same dimensions as the existing one. To join the frame together, we're going to use pocket screws. In combination with wood glue, the pocket screws will make a really strong joint. Here we have one end made. Now to make the other one identical. Now to make it even stronger, I'm putting some pocket screws in the reverse side as well. Here I'm using a 1x8 piece of cedar to make the bottom of the little library. I ripped the second piece down so that the total width of the two equals the width of the bottom. And I'll pre-drill some holes so we can screw it on. I'm using a special galvanized exterior screw. That way it won't rust and it won't react with the cedar. The next step is truly terrifying. In order to make some miniature cedar beveled siding, I've raised the saw blade up danger high and tilted it to 7 degrees. And here I'm making out my last will and testament in case something goes wrong. And now I'm making sure that my life insurance is up to date. And finally, I'm saying my goodbyes to my family. Turns out it wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was going to be. I lowered the blade just slightly and readjusted the fence so that I could cut halfway through on the first pass. And then I just flipped the board over and feed it back through the other way. This cuts the second half of the cut. And the result is 2 perfect pieces of miniature cedar lap siding. Since this cedar was rough on one side and smooth on the other, I've got to sand down the rough side so I have all smooth pieces. For the substrate of the roof, I'm starting with another piece of 1x8 cedar. I'm using more galvanized screws to screw it into the framing. We'll do the same on the other side. Now we're going to make a combination gable trim and roof rafter. After marking and cutting it for length, we're going to assemble it with some nails. We need 2 more, so one on the other end, and now I'm going to put one in the center of the roof. This now gives us a place to attach the rest of our roof substrate, which consists of a 1x8 that's ripped down to size. Along the top edge of the front of the box, we attach a 1x to act as a horizontal face frame for our door to butt against. These vertical face frames will also make up half of an outside corner. And this small trim board makes up the other half of that outside corner. This vertical board will give us some place to nail the center of our siding to on the back of the library. And finally, we get to start installing some of our siding. This was the part I was looking forward to the most. I'm back caulking each row with some clear silicone at the edges. This will prevent any water from migrating under. The spacing between rows is 2 inches. So to make this installation quicker, I've cut a 2-inch wide block, and I use that to line up each row as I go. Then it's just a matter of cut and nail. The last piece is ripped because it's not quite a full width. And with that, the back is weatherproofed. As evidenced by my shirt color change, this is the next day. I'm adding blocking on the ends of the library so we have something to nail our shelves into. To make the shelves wide enough, I'm pocket hole screwing 2 pieces together to get the full width. And now a little pre-assembly of the shelves, some glue and nails. Now the other half. Once they're assembled as a unit, we'll insert them into the little library. We need to put some blocking on the other side like we did on the first side, a place to nail the shelf into. On the eave ends, we have to put a piece of blocking in the back so that the top of the siding has something to nail to. Now more corner pieces. Notice the miter cut on this piece of the corner piece. It matches up with our eave trim. In this view, you can see the end profile of the corner piece and how it wraps around both sides. This gives us a board to terminate our siding into. Along the front and bottom edge, we need a thin piece of face frame to fill in the gap. And now we use the same process to apply the siding on the ends of the library as we did on the back side. The main difference on the ends is that you have to cut the siding to fit the angle of the gable trim. The last piece is basically a triangle. And that's about all the time we have for this video. We've got all the siding on it and the basic structure done. Next time, we'll put cedar shake on the roof, and we'll build the door and put the finishing touches on it, as well as building a door for the original little library. So please be sure to stay tuned for video number 2. And as always, thanks for watching.